Good morning, everybody. I think we've addressed the minor issue at the beginning there. Welcome and thanks for taking time today to sit with us through our webinar on the new pre-configured solutions from the cloud. I know most people know who I am. My name is Eugene Young, and I'm the country director for the UK and Ireland. I'm responsible for the UK and Ireland, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues, Andy Barnett, who looks after Docuware in the north of the UK, and Simon Godfrey, who looks after
Morning, everybody.
Hello.
So there we go. So I've already covered that, today's hosts, but if you can just make sure you can see the hand signals and the chat box. That's if you have any questions, if you wouldn't mind typing in your questions, we'll get to it at the end. If that's okay, if everyone can see that, they want to make sure that they have those settings and they know where to go. I'll just give you a second to look at that screen and then we can continue. Okay, so we're going to talk about the pre-configured solutions today. This has been a while coming, but we now have it, and I think it's a great opportunity for everybody. So as I said, I've given the introductions. Simon will cover the pre-configured smart document control, and that'll be a live demo of the system, and it'll take about 20 minutes. And then after that, Andy Barnett will do the pre-configured invoice processing. And then we'll have some Q&A on the questions, and you can write your questions on. If you write your questions and can say which one you want to know a question about, if it's a question about smart document control, please put that in your text. And if it's about invoicing processing, please put that in your text as well. So then we'll know if it's a general or specific question. Okay. So what do we mean by pre-configured solutions? Well, simply out of the box software. And we've all heard about out-of-the-box softwares in the past. So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about pre-configured solutions. What's in the box? The first half of this webinar, we're talking about Docuware Smart Document Control. That's what's in the box. And that's the first half of our webinar. In the second half, it's about invoice processing. So Simon Godfrey will do the demonstration on that. So out of the box, archive and search. So basically, we combine scans, office files, emails, and all other documents into a single, secure, searchable cabinet, just like your cabinets in your office today, except this is an electronic version. If you don't have the key, you can't get in. The pre-configured solution gives you, we can connect to your core business applications and MFDs. We can index all of your incoming documents. So the intelligent indexing will index all of your incoming documents. And it comes with 50 pre-configured metadata fields, enabling rapid retrieval of the documents. So that's basically like your search and retrieval fields. So that's a very powerful start from the pre-configured solution. We can integrate with all these applications. Some of them you will know, 365, Sage, Dynamics, Outlook, which is very, very important, SysPro, Oracle, and SAP. Out of the box, we have collaboration. We can protect information by clearly controlling who accesses and collaborates on documents and the files of an organization, because we know we can track it in the background. The benefits of the collaboration is simple workflows to share information with others. For me, for some, for all. Full document audit trail and version control. And I know most people will know what that is, but this is coming out of the box in the pre-configured solution, which is very, very powerful. It's ideal for proposals and contracts and any SOPs. Retention and security. Docuware, as you know, has a multi-level security, and we can keep documents safe in a compliant way. And the solution that we give you in the pre-configured will give you access to any documents by user or type, the retention of documents for the correct time period, helps with compliance and governance, and smart COVID screening solution, which we will cover in the demo. So on that one, I'm going to hand over to Simon to actually do the demonstration for you. So I just
Cheers, Eugene.
Simon. I make Simon presenter.
Cool. Are you guys seeing a Docuware in tray?
Yes.
Cool. So you guys are familiar with DocuWare. You guys have all been selling it for a while. So the basics of DocuWare, I'm not going to drill into massively. Just to say that the Smart Document Control pre-configured solution out of the box comes set up with search dialogues that are already been prepared for you. We have lists that have already been built into the system. There are tasks and folders that are already in there, and we've also got some web forms that have been pre-programmed and into the system. The main thing to discuss about this is this has come through half an hour ago. I have set up a couple of users in the configuration. Everything else is as it should be, okay? That's all I've had to do. So when you guys are talking to customers that potentially are looking at a very, very simple solution with not an awful lot of setup time, then maybe the pre-configured solution is an ideal stepping stone for them. But at the same time, you might also be talking to a customer that just wants to look at an archive and retrieval project and they're not on a budget. Use the pre-configured solution because the template has already got all this functionality already built into it. So you can save a bit of time in your PS. So you might be quoting somebody 5 to 10 days and it might only take you 7. So it's giving you a little bit of extra margin. So what we're going to focus on today is how we can bring information into the system, how we can share it with other people. And we're used to, with DocuWare, historically doing that through tasks. But in this instance, we're going to do things through lists and through assignments. Okay, I'm also going to show you a demonstration on how we can use forms to do a COVID screening process that comes into a building. And the last thing that I'm going to touch on is our new highlight search, which is a cracking bit of software in DocuWare. I think it sets us apart from all of our competition in the fact that we can now search for information from any application. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, basically, we're going to start off with simple archive and retrieval. Okay, now I've put some documents into DocuWare. They're already in there. I've got a couple of documents in here. I've got an agreement and a letter. Okay. As I said, I've set up some other users. For the purpose of today, I'm just going to launch them in a different browser. Hopefully you can now see Peggy Jenkins' screen, and if I do a search for her, you'll see that she can't see any of the documentation that I've got sitting in my file cabinet, okay? Because the permissions are set up in the system to say that only I can see them. So we've got some pre-configured setups that are in there. So for me, for some, for all. For me, it's only going to be me that's going to see it. If it's for some, you're going to share it with some predefined colleagues that you pick. And if you want it to be accessible by everybody, well, the clue's in the name, it's accessible by everybody, okay? But if we go back to my browser, we've got these documents in here again. Now, again, you guys are used to working with DocuWare, connecting to multifunction devices, monitoring inboxes and bringing information over. Really easy to bring information into DocuWare. I'm just going to do a simple import, just grab some documents. We go, where are we? Paperwork, sample docs. Do you know what? I really need to tidy this up. Sample docs, there you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some documents for me to do something with. I've got an employee contract that is pretty much very important to me. Nobody else really needs to see that. There's a letter that I've got that I'm going to share with a colleague, and I've got a proposal template that as a business I want everybody to use. I'm going to share that with everybody. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be showing you today. Simple, bringing information in, storing it away, and doing something with it. Okay, so here we have an employee contract. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to store that in a way that is secure because it's my employment contract. I don't want anybody else to see that, so I'm going to store that for me, okay? Again, we're then opening up the 50 metadata fields, or the dialog fields that Eugene talked about in the slides that we discussed earlier. These have already been set up for you, okay? So you don't have to do anything here. And these are dynamic, so we've got document type, and as you see here, we've got quite a few document types that have already been created. We've got sub-document types that sit underneath those, and again, loads and loads of choice. But here we go. So I'm going to store this. This is an employee contract. So it's a contract. What type is it? It is an employee contract. As you can see, because I've picked contract, the list of subtypes that I've got to choose from has shrunk, so it's dynamic. Okay, so bringing that in. I'm only going to stick a little bit of information in here because you know how one-click indexing works, but I'm just going to do it anyway, bring that across. Subject is going to be a sample employment contract, and I'm going to stick today's date on it. Okay, and we're done. Now I've stored that into the system. Really straightforward, really simple. As you would expect, if I go into my search, I can see it. But if we go back to Peggy Jenkins and just do a search of all documents, let's do a quick refresh, she still can't access that document as you would expect it to be. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our document tray and we're going to share something, put my teeth back in, I'm going to share something with Peggy, okay? Really easy. How we can do that is share that with some, because we're picking someone we want to share that information with, okay? What is it? It is a letter, subtype, it's received from the customer. We'll bring some information over because we can do, again, using one-click indexing, subject, roller coaster. Okay, we're not going to put a project date in. We'll stick today's date on it. And store that in. Now, because we're sharing this with somebody, okay, we can decide how we're going to do that. Do we want to let them know via email? Well, we can do. So in this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share it with Peggy, and I'm going to invite somebody by email and say, yes, I am. I'm going to put an email comment in here to say, hi, Peggy, just received this FYI. Okay. Now, again, we're in control with DocuWare. So what do we want Peggy to do? Do we want her to be able to read it? Do we want her to be able to edit it? Well, to be honest with you, I'm working with Peggy on this project, so I don't really care what she does with it. She can edit it if she needs to. So I'm going to give her permission to be able to do that. But as you'll see down here, I'm the document owner. So I'm going to store that. And then what's going to happen is if we go back to my search dialogues, you'll see that I have got that available to me. But if we go back to Peggy and we do a quick refresh, she's now got something sitting in her inbox as well. Okay, and it is that letter that's come through from Moss's. If we go back to our main system and just do a quick refresh on an email, I've got a dummy email address that I use for my presentations, just a simple Gmail address, and all my users have the same email address on them. You'll see here that we've had a letter to say, hi Peggy, just received this, FYI, there's a document link in there, but it's another nice little touch. There's an email notification that's gone through to Peggy to let her know that she's got something. So if we go back to the system, Brian Ford, who's my other user, if I just do a quick refresh of Brian, he's still not got anything, still quite lonely, no information sitting in his system. So what we're going to do now is we're going to share something with everybody. Okay, so I've got a proposal template here that I want all employees in my organization to use going forwards. Okay, it's valid from ends in, but this is what I want everybody to use. So we're going to send this over to everyone so they've all got a copy of it. It is a customer proposal. I'm not going to put masses of detail in here because, again, you guys know how it all works, but we'll just do a little bit of one-click indexing, stick today's date in it, store that into the system. Now, as you would expect, I can see it. If we do a quick refresh, Peggy should have 2 documents now that she's got in there as well. And good old Brian is no longer a lonely individual. He's now got something in his system for him to work on. Okay, so quite easily and out of the box, we've got a system that allows us to share documents with our colleagues, have permissions around who can access those and who can't. We can connect or notify somebody via an email to say that we've sent a document to them. So quite powerful stuff for a simple out of the box solution, you would say. So what else can we do with it? Well, within DocuWare, we can also set assignments, and we do that via stamps so that we can give people jobs to do and monitor the time that they need to do it in. Okay, so for argument's sake, I have got a letter that I brought in earlier. So we've got this letter, this document here. Okay, what I'm going to do now with this is I'm going to share this with my colleague Peggy because I want her to just check it before I send it over to the customer. Okay, and I can simply do that by creating an assignment for Peggy. Okay, so hi Peggy, can you just review and change as you see fit. Okay. Now, because I'm creating an assignment and this needs to be done fairly quickly, I can put an assignment follow-up date on that. And I'm just going to say that I want this to be done by Friday. If it's not done by Friday, I'll get a reminder, okay? As I said before, I want her to read it. I want her to edit it if she needs to, okay? So I'm just going to add Peggy to that edit field. Now, this is another nice little addition. We can set it up so that if we're sending this out to 3 or 4 people, that anyone in that group who gets that document and edits it, it automatically falls off everybody else's list. However, if I send it to everybody and everyone has to acknowledge that they've seen it, then each person that received that document would have to look at it and approve and confirm that they'd reviewed that document, okay? In this instance, Peggy is our everyone, so I'm just going to set it as everyone. I'm going to set the stamp on here. Now, if we go back into Peggy's system and look at our lists, we'll see that Peggy has got an assignment that's come through to her, and that is something that needs to be done within 14 days. Okay, you can see here that the stamp's been applied to that document and it's sitting in her document tray. Now, what I want Peggy to do is read that document and edit it. And again, as you all know, really, really simple to be able to edit information within DocuWare. Okay, just check it out and edit it in its native browser, which is Word. On the version 7.4, we can also collaborate on a document through our Office 365 integration, meaning that 4 or 5 people could be working on a document at the same time. We would be able to see who has been doing that, what additions they've made to that document. And the version control will be updating on a Word document. I think it's every 90 seconds. So if that document is checked out for 5 or 10 minutes and everybody's working on it, the last person that checks it in will be the latest version. Okay, but we will see all that information in version control. Now, Peggy is quite happy. She's quite happy with what she's seen. The edit that she's going to make is she's going to change the highlighting color. It's quite simple, but you guys know what editing a document looks like in DocuWare. We'll store it, take it back into the system, and if we do a quick refresh and look at the document, you'll now see that the document is viewable in the system. There's been an edit. If we go into it, we can see the history and the version overview of what's been done with this document. So again, we're giving you guys full control. Excuse me. You can see the version overview. I do apologize, of who's done what and when, okay? But Peggy is now happy that she's done her assignment, as it were. And if we click here and complete her assignment, we can stick a stamp on the document to say it was done. We can set that here. And that task will now fall off Peggy's list of things that she needs to do. You have to excuse me, I'm on a fairly slow internet connection here, guys, so believe me, it will show. And if we just go into the system and do a refresh, you'll now see that this has been edited by Peggy. Okay, so really easy to share a document with somebody, give them a task to do. Normally it would have been a task. This is now done by an assignment, okay? But you get the idea. And again, if we were sharing this with everybody, and I shared this with Peggy and Brian, then it would go through a process of basically saying, Peggy has seen the document, she's done her edits and put them back in, but we're still waiting on Brian. So we've got real visibility of who's doing what. Okay, I'm a bit conscious of time, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to jump into the forms side of things with the DocuWare system that we've got in the pre-configured. And in the world that we're living in now with COVID that's going around and everything else, we have developed a couple of forms that sit in the system relating to visitors to a building. Okay, so visitors to DocuWare, we've got a visitors form, we've got an employee form. Okay. This is what the visitor form looks like. In the demo, I'm not going to do it now because unfortunately it won't show up very well on my mobile phone. But imagine I walk up to the foyer of DocuWare and I've got a visitor QR code. I can simply scan that with my mobile phone. That's going to launch this web form that's been created. Okay, so again, we all know about web forms, dynamic, intuitive. We've got who you're visiting. It's doing a lookup. It knows who I am. Visiting Peggy, or we'll just put a fake name in here. Just need that email address. Bear with me. Anybody who needs to get rid of me, that's definitely not my email address, but that is my mobile, so you all know me. Go through the COVID screening program, and again, the only addition that I made to this was changed it to United Kingdom. The version was saying US before, but really simple to do in the back end. Given access to the building, we'll just do a quick signature. And submit that. Why am I not submitting? Live demos, guys. Something has cocked up and it's not allowing me to do it. So I'm just going to go back to showing you guys. Pardon?
Looks like there's a space at the beginning of your email, Simon.
Is there a space?
On your form? It looks like there's a space.
Let's go back and have a look. You're right, Andy. What will we do without you? Submit that. Okay, a couple of things are going to happen here. One, if we go back into our DocuWare system, you will see in the lists that I have some things to do. We will get a notification in a second to say we've got a visitor in the building and that we need to do a temperature check. Okay, temperature check on Peggy Jenkins. But what's also happened in the background is if we go back to our inbox, just do a quick refresh. The system has automatically sent out a couple of emails. Because the user Simon Godfrey was picked, it sent an email to me to say that Peggy Jenkins is waiting for me in reception. Okay, and also it sent an email to Peggy just saying, please enter the building and go and get a check. Again, all this configuration has already been done for you. There's nothing that you need to do. As I say, all I added to this system were the users Peggy Jenkins, Brian Ford, and an email address, and it's always the same email address that I'm using for this Gmail account. We go back into it, you will see that we've got a temperature check to do. So again, really easy to do. Doing it with our stamps, we're going to do a quick building check-in. We're going to apply that stamp to the document. That now drops off the check-in list and goes to visitor in the building. And again, that should come through in a second. It's really struggling to keep up. Let's do a quick refresh. Okay.
You checked out, Simon, so checking
No,
in.
no, I'm just doing it now. No, I don't need that. I need visitors in business in building. I'm not sure why, but anyway, right, okay, guys, you have to trust me on this one. We would check our visitor out from our building to say that they have successfully had their temperature checked when they came in and checked when they came out. The last thing I'm going to show you guys is a search functionality that we've got, which is DocuWare's highlight search, and I think this is really, really powerful. Okay, this allows us to basically connect any application anywhere in the world to DocuWare to find information, and that's simply done by a quick highlight search, the highlight search functionality in a short key. In my system, I've got Control S, but what I can do is I can open up any browser. I'm just going to put in the word Donald. Okay, and then if I highlight the word Donald here and just do Control S, you'll see that I've executed a search in DocuWare, and it's gone into our visitor filing cabinet, and it's brought back any information that relates to the name Donald. Okay, now imagine that this is an invoice in a email account, or this could be in a letter or an Excel spreadsheet, or again, as I've shown you today, in a browser. The ability to be able to search for any information connected to a filing cabinet from any browser, I think is really, really unique. Okay, nobody else has got that sort of functionality. I think it sets us apart from everybody else in the marketplace. That is me in terms of smart document control. Hopefully I've given you an overview of the system. I do apologize for a couple of technical issues that I've had this morning, but what I'm going to do now is hand back over to Eugene. I'll just make you presenter again, Eugene. And you can carry on.
Okay, Simon, thanks for that. That was really, I really enjoyed that. Thank you for that demo. And as you can see, it's very powerful, the pre-configured solution so far. So next we will move on to the second part of the webinar, and that is to do with the pre-configured invoice processing, which would the dive demo will be handled by Andy Barnett. So the only thing worse than stacks of paper is manually keying in data and on paper. Exception handling. You know, we will have automatic approvals based on vendors, based on other data that's set up, and workflows to route to the right key decision makers. We can avoid fines, processing invoices early due to early payment discounts, avoid late fees, and protect our relationships. Auditors, they're inevitable, but this will cut out the prep time for the auditors with the search and the retrieval. And this is a quote by a customer of ours in the UK. We're looking for a more efficient document management imaging solution for our accounts payable team, and we needed to integrate both our Oracle software and Outlook. They reviewed 5 different companies and they chose DocWare because it had what it needed. Well, that's a very powerful statement, and it's great when we get statements like this, and we get many statements like this, but this is one example of very powerful. So we can capture all the invoices using our intelligent indexing. We can store and archive the documents and retrieve digital documents. And digital route for ERP, we can digitally route for approval and then post back to different ERPs. And as we know, we've got all these integrations into these fantastic other products that actually work seamlessly with DocWare. And I'm going to hand over to Andrew for this slide because he gets very passionate about this slide, and I would ask him to describe this slide.
Yeah, guys, yeah, apologies. I guess I'm pretty sad, and I get really kind of animated and excited about these kind of things. But you know what? I think it's super powerful, and it's something that is not only going to separate yourselves as partners from your competition, but also for your customers. For lots of customers, this is what they've been crying out for. It's what they're looking for. So why does it work? I guess is the question. Well, let's start right at the beginning, and we're looking at actually entering the data. Now, I've seen customers over the last kind of month, and one of them really sticks in my mind, because every single time they want to buy something, they actually enter the information 5 times into 5 different places, entered by 5 different people. Really? It's 2021. Are we really still doing that? Well, for them, yeah. And they couldn't believe there was another way of doing this. So straight away, when we start to think about how we can look and deal with that kind of thing, well, the first things first, we can save up to 95% of people's time when just considering data entry. Just considering data entry, not the rest of the process, just data entry. Well, I think if someone can save 95% of their time, that's going to be attractive to most people. I'm sure everyone would agree. So then we start to move through our process, and we can start to get the idea of matching up with other documents. We can start to get the idea with communicating with other people and systems within the business. We can start to look at reducing that approval time by between 70 and 80%. So we've already saved you 95% up front by saving the time of putting the information in. Now we're going to approve that information and save you a further 70 to 80% in that process. So all the return on investment is just growing and growing and growing at every stage. Now, we mentioned auditors before, and Eugene was kind enough to touch on auditors, but let's be honest, no one likes that. No one enjoys the auditors coming in. There's very few people, if anybody, and I would argue nobody, that wakes up in the morning and says, oh, great, the auditors are coming in today. It just doesn't happen. It's not part of life. So by being able to restrict the way that the audit is taking place, give them access to the information that they need to be able to do their job, actually just frees up your time, removes the stress factor, and actually hopefully makes that more smooth, not just today, but also in the future. Because we all know as well that the better our audits go in the future, the more relaxed our auditors are when they arrive. So again, it's not just about saving your time and the pressure on you, but hopefully making your relationship with the auditors even better. So from a point of view of what this slide really shows us, it's really pulling out the key areas that we're going to be able to show real value to your customers today and in the future by implementing the DocuWare solution. Hopefully that's done it justice, Eugene.
Very good, very good. I love the way you're passionate about that slide. When you described it to me earlier in the week, I thought it was fantastic. So now, Andy, I'm going to hand over to you to do the demonstration on the invoice processing. So I'll just make you presenter.
By all means. Okay, guys, so you should be able to now see my screen there. And obviously we're looking at the main DocuWare solution, or the main screen within our DocuWare system here. Now, the main things that I'm going to use, or the main areas that I'm going to use today, of course, are our document viewer as we start to see the documents as they're coming through our system. We're also going to focus a little bit on our top bar here. And we're going to see some tasks coming through our system. So the tasks area is going to be really, really important. However, before we do, let me just introduce the demo as to where we're starting here today. And the first point is the fact that I'm signed in as myself. Now, for the purpose of today's demo, I'm actually going to be taking the role of the person who's receiving these invoices coming into our system. So my job within the organization is to receive them, maybe through the post, open them, scan them into the system, and then start to process them into DocuWare. Now, of course, we all know there are a multitude of different ways of receiving invoices into our businesses, and the post is becoming less and less of a thing, of course. Now, that's because I think it's fair to say most businesses are now being taken over by the emails, and more invoices are now receiving that way. Now, of course, for anyone who doesn't know, we do have a really powerful integration with those email platforms. So we can do this in two different ways. The first one being a fully automated solution where we're connecting into an email box. Generally, that's done in more of a combined email box, something like an invoices at or an accounts at or something along those lines. We're automatically capturing the emails that are coming in. We're separating those emails from the attachments, and then we're automatically bringing those details into the DocuWare solution. However, of course, if you're using a mailbox such as an Andy at or a Eugene at or a Simon at, then actually we probably want to have a little bit more control over what we're sending into the system and what we're not. So in that instance, we can use our powerful Connect to Outlook tool where we can literally just right click on the email itself and click send to DocuWare. That way we're deciding what goes into the system, not a computer. So it just gives you those two options for all eventualities. Now, as they come in, everything will be treated exactly the same. So the documents are going to go through that powerful intelligent indexing or capture tool, which is built into the DocuWare solution. And you'll see that these documents have been categorized to either green. Now, they're, of course, all mine are green today, but there is also a yellow and also a red. So there's full traffic light system there to support us. Now, the red would indicate, okay, we have a little bit of a problem with this document. We don't recognize it, we can't read it. There's something there that just really needs a bit of human interaction just to make sure it's being processed correctly. Now, of course, our role within DocuWare is to keep those reds to a minimum, and we find that that's really powerful across our customers' bases, and they do say that actually in many cases they're dealing with very few reds. However, there is also a yellow, and that yellow is very much an intermediary between the red and the green. Now, the yellow essentially is recognizing, okay, we get this document, we understand what it is. However, we need to maybe learn a little bit more or just confirm with you that these are the right information. Now, the reason we do that is because DocuWare lives on an artificial intelligence layer. And without going all weird and wonderful today, the idea of that artificial intelligence layer is that it's learning. So every single time a human being makes an action within the DocuWare solution, it starts to learn from their actions. Now, the beauty of that is at some point, as we start to go through that learning process, it says, okay, I get it now. I understand what you're going to do with these documents, and we can now turn green when these enter the system. Now at that stage, we're pretty sure we've got the correct information being processed. So let's have a look at that. How does that look? Well, when these documents start to get processed through our system, you'll see that actually we'll be able to see the document on the right-hand side of our screen here. There we go. And on the left-hand side, it's automatically drawn out these index fields against the categorization. Now, really important here, these categorization fields are completely customizable to your business. So we appreciate that the ones that I've got here today may not be perfect for your needs. Another thing to maybe notice here is, of course, I'm focusing on header information to make our demo nice and simple today. However, there is also the opportunity to capture line item information. And if anyone would like some information on that, please don't hesitate to contact me after this session. I'll be happy to talk through that with you. For the purpose of today, however, I'm going to go ahead and process this through. Which brings us to our second document, and we'll just go ahead and process that one. Exactly the same process here. Nothing particularly changed. However, something that might be quite important, you might notice that actually more of the fields have not been captured. So why is that? Well, let's have a look. These fields that haven't been captured relate to a second layer of VAT. Now, of course, we'll all be aware that in the UK, we have multiple layers of VAT because some things are charged at 20%, others at 0%, others at 5%, and there are a couple of others weird and wonderful ones floating around. But it just helps to support your customers in that. Now, we'll notice on this particular document that actually the VAT is all at a single layer. So it's okay that these things are missing. That's perfectly acceptable. Not everything on here needs to be mandatory, and you can see the mandatory ones we've highlighted just with a little asterisk there or a little star. So we'll go ahead and just process that one through the system. Same with that final one. We'll see that it's gone ahead, it's captured its information, and we'll go ahead and process that one through our system as well. Okay, so at this stage, I've pretty much done my job. I've opened the post, I've processed them into the system. Just before I move on though, something really, really powerful, because of course in most instances, what would normally happen in a finance department here is that I would have delivered the post into the finance team, I would have given it to them or put it on their desk or in their trays or whenever I might have done that. And that's it. I'm now out of control. The person that has them is in full control of those documents, but nobody else in the business is. Now, of course, at this stage, because in the digital world, we've already filed these documents away, should anyone want to run a search for those documents, they absolutely can. So just by coming into our powerful search engine here, we'll see that I'm just going to search for the invoices that have come in. And let's just have a look maybe for international steel. Now, international steel, you'll remember, was one of the documents I just processed. So if someone was to phone up about this particular document, I can still find it. Even though they've been delivered into the finance team, I can still go ahead and check for it and I can still find it. So straight away, the whole business becomes more collaborative. Okay, so what happens now within our processes? So for the purpose of today, I'm just going to jump to a second browser. So we'll see that I'm on the Edge browser here, and I'm just going to jump into our Chrome browser just here. Now at this stage, I'm going to introduce some of you to a lady called Peggy Jenkins, the famous Peggy that I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Now, when I jump into her browser here, we'll see that I'm now logged in as Peggy, and she's been given 3 tasks. Now, these 3 tasks relate to 3 completely different things. So because they're related to 3 completely different things, DocuWare's already sorted them and put them in 3 different tabs. Makes it nice and simple for Peggy to be able to process. Now, the first one, it's actually asking us to complete a supplier check. So why is it asking me to do that? Well, let's have a look. When I go into here, I can see my document. I can see that actually it's asking me to complete that check. So I can go ahead and check the vendor. Excuse me. Now, the reason it's asking us to go ahead and do that is because if I drop down my list here, we'll see that we've left storage experts out of our approved supplier list. So actually, should they be able to invoice us at all? Well, actually at this stage, yeah, they probably should, because we've checked to see there are no duplicates in the system, but there are some order documents, some other documents that relate to it. Now that could be things like POs, order documents, delivery documents, so on and so forth. So at this stage, we have two choices. We can go ahead and onboard them as a new supplier, and just by clicking on our link here, we'll see that we get a nice clear web form. This web form, again, completely customizable. So we can start to change this gray to your corporate colors. We can start to put your corporate logos in the top and things like that. We can also change the information that we're going to start to onboard. And this comes back to really, well, what do we need to capture? That probably relates to what you're currently capturing. This is not about reinventing the wheel. It's just about digitizing what we can do to make it nice and slick and easy. So we can go ahead and onboard them as a new supplier. However, there may also be another option here, because maybe I don't want to onboard them as a new supplier. Maybe what I need to do is just bypass that process and say that actually this is a one-time purchase. Do not onboard. Because maybe we're never going to use storage experts again. It was just a one-off thing. And we can go ahead and confirm that. Now, for the purpose of today, we will see that bounce back to me in just a second. So as if by magic, that'll come back. Just give me a second there and you'll see it. There it is. While we're waiting for that, however, let's have a look at that next document. Well, here's one where someone's obviously made a stay in a hotel. We don't have any other documents. We can see that it's checked for duplicates and there aren't any duplicates in our system. We've got no other documents to relate to. So, okay, fine. So within our system here, we'll be able to assign an approver. Now, for the purpose of today, I'm going to use young Peter Sanders as our person to do that. And I'll introduce Peter in just a few moments. But we'll go ahead and just confirm he is the person I'd like to approve that document. Now, secondly, we have our storage experts document that's come back to me. Now, we've got a few things here. Of course, we've checked for duplicates and we've checked for other documents, which is great. However, we've also added a stamp here to say, okay, it failed its initial supplier check. And the stamp's gone red, as you'll be able to see there. Now, again, these stamps are completely customizable. So they're set up to your specific needs and for your specific requirements. We'll see that in my particular example here, I've put the notes into the stamp and I've made it go red because it failed a check. You'll see a green one in a few moments where actually it's passed through and that's been fine. We've also set up into this workflow that actually if something fails any point of the check, then actually we want to get some approval on that document. So again, I'm going to pick on young Peter and assign it out to him for approval, which leaves me with my final document here. So the one from International Steel. And our documents come through from International Steel with a couple of different things. So it's asking me to go ahead and complete the information. Now, this is because we have all the other documents that relate to it. Everything matches correctly. And actually, we can go ahead and complete this action without any further authorization. However, what we might choose to do in this particular instance is go ahead and add some GL coding information. Now, of course, if you were capturing the information at line item, then we might wish to code at line item level. That's absolutely fine. And of course, we can drag that information through for you to make sure that it's intuitive. For the purpose of today, however, I'm just going to make this nice and quick and easy, and I'm going to add some of our footer information. So I'll see that actually I'm going to add some figures. I'm going to assign it to a particular account, and of course, these accounts would be your normal codes there. I'm going to give it its tax and say, well, actually, we can see that's a 20% tax code. So we'll go ahead and assign that. If there's any notes that I wish to add and pass over to our ERP or finance system, I can go ahead and do that, and add any further cost centers that I wish to do as well. We'll quickly just add some secondary layers there. And we'll go ahead and process that one through. So no further actions to be completed within that document. Now, the two that we did assign out, however, we do still need to get approval for. So for this point, I'm just going to jump to my third browser, being the Firefox browser here, and we'll see that I'm now signed in as Peter Sanders. Now, Peter Sanders is taking the role of our approver within our demonstration today, and we can see that he's being asked to check 2 invoices. Now, if Peter's out on the road, it may not be convenient for him to notice these popping into his tasks. So what you may choose to do for your particular customers is sign out a notification. So as these get assigned, or even as a bulk, a notification can go out to the to the approver. So they can click on the link below. We just need to go ahead and approve the particular invoices. They can then do that on the move from any device anywhere on the planet. All they're going to need is an internet connection and a web browser, and they're good to go. So we can go ahead and have a look at these. And okay, we can see it's come through. It's gone through Peggy's process here, and there's that nice green stamp that I mentioned earlier, because it didn't fail any of its checks. And we can go ahead and confirm that particular document. Same with that second one there. Okay, we'll go ahead and just confirm that particular document as well. So at this stage, now all our documents have been approved, and we would be starting to pass them over to the finance system or the ERP system. Now at this stage, let's imagine International Steel was to phone in. So they were to phone us up and say, we've got an invoice, just chasing that one up. Any chance we can get some information? Well, if I jump back to myself and imagine that I've now taken that call, the last time I saw these documents, actually, they've just been processed and they've been passed into the finance team. So under normal circumstances, I'd be saying, I'm really sorry, I'll have to call you back, I'll get some information. However, in the new world and the new DocuWare way of doing things, I can go ahead and run that particular search, find our International Steel invoice by running that search, and here it is. So I've got a nice clear picture to see, oh, okay, it's been completed and passed through. I can see our other documents, and if I wish to access these nice and easy, I just click on there and you'll see that it opens those other documents up for me. So no matter what question I'm being asked, I've got a full overview, even though I'm no longer in control of those documents and they've gone elsewhere, I'm still in control. So our ability to answer our customers' questions and queries suddenly becomes really slick. Now, just looking at time, I've noticed that we've got 10 minutes left, or 9 minutes left now, for our questions today. And I'm really keen. I've seen some flashing on the screen as I've been presenting there. So really keen to make sure we give some time back to answer those. So Eugene, at this stage, I'd like to pass back over to yourself and take any questions that anyone may have.
Great, Andy. If you could make me presenter again, please, that'd be great.
There you go, sir.
Great. Thanks for that fantastic demo. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, great. You've done a fantastic job. We didn't get too many questions in, so I've got one for pre-configured solutions from Laura. How are we best to demo? I'll point out at you, Simon.
How are we best to demo? In terms of the smart document control demo, Laura, just basically the way that I've gone through it just now. Set yourself up with some users that you're familiar with. I mean, for me, I've used Peggy Jenkins and Brian Ford because, as we know, we've all been sitting in VMs for so long. We're used to talking about Peggy and Brian all day long. I set myself up with a basic Gmail account because I don't want to attach my Outlook account to my demos, but yeah, I'm quite happy to run through the demo again with you if you'd like, just to sort of show you the script that I've been using, but again, download it. There's a script in there anyway in the pre-configured solution for smart document control. So yeah, just make sure that you can set up your different users in a couple of different browsers. Again, if you were in the VM, you'd be switching between your users. The way that Andy's shown it today and that I've shown it is we've got our main browser for our admin, and then we're using two separate browsers, either Edge, Firefox, whatever it's going to be, to run the additional users. But I think it's a fairly smooth, simple process, and a lot easier than jumping in and out of users in a VM. So hopefully that answers your question, Laura. But if you need any more information, you know where I am. After the next slide, guys, there's going to be a link where you can book any of you guys' time for and scan the QR code and put a QR code. Dean Brink, I've got a question. Let's see. Report.
Sorry, Eugene, I didn't get the question. Sorry.
It says, where do you get the demo to import? That's from Dean Bricks, I think.
Dean, so so Dean, how I get that demo to import is I just have a file that I store, and then I just connect that up and get the import to come from there. Of course, there's a few different ways. This is a live cloud, so nothing's stopping you connecting up to however you would like to import, whether that be from your scanners, whether that be from an email account, or connect to Outlook or something along those. But I guess really flexible. You can do it however you see fit. And of course, you know me pretty well, so reach out. We'll have a chat, and happy to help set up however you want, really.
Dean also said you checked out as well, Dean. There's another question here, but I don't know who it's from. It says, "Great demo, guys." So well done, Simon and Andy. Andy, some nice UK invoices in your demo. Are they standard in the pre-configured demo, or could we get some copies for our demo, our next demo?
Who's that from, you?
They don't. It's anonymous.
Okay, happy to share those with you. Not a problem at all. Sorry, I don't know who that question came from, but if you want to reach out to me afterwards, you'll see my email address on the last slide. So feel free to drop me an email, and I'll happily share those with you.
Aren't they in the AP configuration, Andy? I think some sample documents come with the AP version, so I think those 3 documents are actually in there.
The answer is I don't know. So I'm gonna stick with my first answer, and I'll happily share those with you.
Okay.
Okay, guys, that's the last of the questions. I'm just going to put up the QR code. If everyone could scan that code, it'll link into a document form where you can book any of the time or ask further questions or get all the information. You can select which RSD you'd like to speak to on it. So if you just send that code, it'll open it up. So I'll just leave that up for a minute so everyone can scan. And then you'll see the actual form, and then you can fill in what you need or whatever information you like if you'd like to book any of the team. Okay. So I hope that's long enough for everybody. And to that, I would like to bring this webinar to an end. Getting started is easy. Please reach out to your RSDs or myself. Their details are on the screen. If you fill in the form from the QR code, it will also be there. And I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their day to spend it with us.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for your time.